The top 5 reasons people don't save for retirement. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the My Father Said podcast, where we discuss all things faith, finance, and family. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan. I'm both a father and a son.
Hey, everybody. I'm Robert. I'm Ryan's dad, and I am my father's son as well.
And today we are going to talk about the top 5 reasons we have heard, we think are the top 5 reasons people do not save for retirement. So we'll go ahead and jump right in. But before we get into the top 5, we want to throw out some honorable mentions, some that we have heard a decent amount, but not as much as the rest.
Well, wait a second. I need to clarify something. Are you actually saying that people do not save for retirement? There's a group of people out there like that?
There's. I would say that's the majority of people out there.
I did not realize that.
I will say that is the majority.
I thought everybody saved for their retirement.
Everyone should. It's accessible for everyone to save.
You mean to tell me that employers give plans and they do matching funds and people don't take advantage of that?
Absolutely.
You mean to tell me that there's savings programs that will reduce your taxes right now today and people don't take advantage of that?
Mm-hmm.
You mean to tell me that there's people who have time on their side to embrace the ninth wonder of the world, which is compounding interest, and they don't even do that?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Hey, I had no idea.
Hey, you know, it's because of people like that, though, that we have a job.
No.
Because if everybody could do it.
No, we have what we do for a living because we help guide people who have dreams and aspirations and they want to pursue them.
That's a better way of saying it.
That's why we have jobs, because we are, what do you call it? We're dream makers. We're dream catchers. We are dream instigators, happeners. Is happeners a word?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it didn't sound right either when it came out. But anyway, won't you get on with the program today?
All right, so we're going to go over the top 5. But before we do that, we wanted to give some honorable mentions of the things that we have heard, but maybe not as much as some of the other stuff. So one of the honorable mentions is there's always tomorrow. Procrastination. Hey, I don't have to save right now. I can save later. That's been one that we've heard. Another one that we have heard.
You know, procrastination, that's kind of like the guy whose chest is real tight and he's got this pain in his arm. And it's like an elephant is sitting on his chest and he's like, nah, I want to finish the rest of this ball game. You know, and probably his end result is probably not going to be good.
Does that actually happen?
What? The chest pain?
And I'll wait. Because like at this time of day, doesn't everybody know, like, hey, this is probably a heart attack?
Or they might think it's indigestion or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but, you know, it's just...
I've never had a heart attack, so I don't know.
Yeah, well.
Scott, you ever had a heart attack?
Nope.
No, praise God.
Okay.
So, all right. So procrastination, there's always tomorrow. Another one is, and this one's baffling, Social Security is going to be enough to take care of my retirement. That's one that we've heard. And then another one is more of a mindset of, hey, grandma and grandpa weren't wealthy. Mom and dad weren't wealthy. I'm not going to be wealthy. That's just the way of life. Like, hey, wealthy is for the other people. And sometimes maybe being wealthy is even bad. So we've heard some of those. Those are the honorable mentions, but that's not the top 5. So we'll go ahead and get into the top 5, and old Pops is going to start us out.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to say about these top 5 reasons that we have uncovered, and they're debatable depending on who you talk to and what resource you're looking at. The top 5 might be slightly different. And I don't know if these top 5 are in the most common order or down to the least common order. I want to give you the disclaimer and say I do not know that. But here's what I do want to say about these. As we look at these top 5, every one of these are able to be changed. And I'm of the opinion that they're able to be changed easily. easily. So the top reason that we see that people say they cannot save for their retirement is because they have insufficient income. They're not making enough money. Now, that's debatable. What is not making enough money? Do I need to make $1,000 a week to save a few dollars, or do I need to make $2,000 a week to save a few dollars, or do I need to make $100 a week to save a few dollars? I mean, what is it? I don't, when they say it's insufficient income, that statement in and of itself has got to be tied into the next one, which is high debt levels, but we're not going to high debt levels yet. We're still looking at insufficient income. Ryan, I will tell you, with income, we live in a country, and this is probably going to get some people ticked, all right, just because of the way people's mindsets work around here with their entitlement attitudes at times. But we live in a country where capitalism is abundant about us. You are not a slave to your current employer. If you are not making enough income to support the lifestyle that you desire, you are free to dust up your resume, go put it out there, get on your best shirt and tie, let your hair be its natural color, get all the metal in your face hanging off of it, and go and do an interview someplace and put your best self forward and go someplace where you can earn more. And if you can't do that, you can always Uber or Lyft or do DoorDash or something to bring in more income. The fact that people use the idea of insufficient income, I call that just no motivation.
Right.
All right, because income, I determine what I'm worth, not the employer. Now, if I agree to work for that employer for that amount of money, okay, we have an agreement. I'm going to put into hours. I'm going to trade my time for you to pay me. But if I say, you know what, I need more money and I really don't have a lot more time, then I've really only got one option, and that's to look elsewhere.
Right.
So the insufficient income, when people use that as a reason, that in and of itself, that by itself, I challenge that.
Right.
Because, we all have the same hours in the day.
Yeah. And earning the other income, nobody likes to do that, right? Like, there are few people that want to go work a 9-to-5 job and then get off and go and work another job. But at times that makes a lot of sense. Like, you think of a lot of Dave Ramsey's stuff. Oh, you're not making enough. You don't have enough to pay for your debt. Go get another job. Don't go eat at another restaurant. Don't go to another restaurant unless you're working in it, that kind of thing. Yeah. And so that makes a lot of sense. You probably remember this. When I first started here and I was studying to get my licenses, I would leave here and I'd go do DoorDash because we needed more money. So you've got that. The other thing you were saying, you are not enslaved to your employer. I think that makes a lot of sense for my generation. Like, I'm not married to my job. I'm married to my wife. But I remember you told me stories about your dad, and it was just a different life back then. You go work at this factory, and you just work there until you retire, and then you die. Yeah.
Back in the, we call it the baby boomer, the greatest generation of all time. The way you were brought up at that point in time was you went to school, you got an education, you married your high school sweetheart, you went to work in the local factory, and you stayed there until you got your golden watch 40 years later.
And then you die.
And then you die.
Yep. Okay.
But life was a lot simpler back then than it is today. All of the toys, all of the gadgets that exist today, they weren't around back then. And when I make jokes and people used to play with rocks and sticks out in the yard because that's all they had. Unlike, your children who have so many toys you can't walk across your floor. All right. So it's a different time. But at the same time, even though they had that mindset, they also did not have the extra money to go into debt like we do today. I mean, they just didn't. America is the wealthiest country in the world, and it has more opportunity in the world than any other country can come close to. But our spending, our habitual spending, it's not an income issue. It's a spending issue that we face in this nation.
Discipline.
Yeah, it's not income. It's not income at all.
So you also made a comment earlier about the insufficient income. I'm in the middle of rereading The Richest Man in Babylon, and so this is why it came to mind. But there's a part in that story where the richest man in Babylon, he's got basically a class, and he's teaching other people about how to do it. And he was asking people, hey, who thinks their purse is too lean? There's not enough gold to cover everything. And one guy said, hey, it's lean. I don't make enough to cover everything. And then another guy said the same thing. And then another guy said the same thing. And then he asked each one of them what they did. They all did something different, and each one of them made more money than the one before. And yet none of that was enough to cover everything. And it's just because of discipline and like you said, spending. You know, if it's not enough, there's things you can do. You can get another job. You can get your spending under control. You can set a budget, you know, whatever the case is, because everybody you talk to, whether they make the same amount as you or they make 100,000 more than you, if they don't have that discipline, everybody's going to say the same thing. I'm not making enough. If I was just making this much, I'd be okay. I'd be happy, what have you.
Right. So let's take that and lead into the second reason. Mm-hmm. The second reason that people give for why they are not saving for their financial future is because their debt levels currently are high.
Right.
And that's just another way of saying spending is out of control.
Right.
We don't practice delayed gratification around here anymore. And I've always said this, that fast food restaurants was the beginning of the downfall of people's ability to save. Because what you could do in a fast food restaurant, you could pull in on one side, and within 3 minutes, you're going out the other side with a hot meal and a drink. Whereas I can remember, grandmama taking half a day to cook a big lunch.
Right.
So it's either I wait half a day to eat, or I can just pull in here and get my hamburger and be in and out of here in 3 minutes. And that began the downfall of this nation's saving habits, going from delayed gratification to instant gratification. Yeah. And so now with credit cards, student loans, mortgages, things like that, you can find yourself spending all of your money immediately. I can recall when people would have 4 and 5 year car loans. And they'd get to the end of the car loan. Now their car now is 5 years old at least, and they're at the end of the car loan, and they're spending X number of dollars a month for the car payment. And what do they do within 2 months of getting the car paid for? They go get another car.
Absolutely.
And they start up with a new payment.
Yeah.
And usually the car they had just gone and purchased is more expensive than the one they just paid for.
Yeah, you got to upgrade. Yeah.
I can recall, and it's been a practice of mine, I've driven every car I've ever owned into the ground. I've done everything I've just like that. I was shopping not too distantly in the past here. I was looking at these side-by-sides. I was starting to get a side-by-side fever. All right, just for whatever reason.
For the grandkids.
Yeah, probably.
Yep.
And I settled on this one that I liked. It was a, enclosed, air-conditioned, I just call it Kawasaki Ridge. And that's a nice-looking thing. And then I went and looked at the price, and it's $39,090.
Oh, my gosh.
And I'm looking at it, and I said, man, this thing looks great. And for a moment, it hit me. I went, wait a minute. I've never spent that much on one single vehicle I have ever purchased.
Yeah. That's good.
And so I exhaled, I backed away, and I said, this is nuts.
Yeah.
This is absolute. My Audi, I didn't spend that much on.
All right.
Your mom's Lexus, I didn't spend that much on. My truck, I didn't spend that much on. And I mean, and mind you, I don't buy anything brand new. I buy used. But still, the Audi I got is a $70,000 car, but it did not cost me anywhere near $70,000.
Yeah.
All right. And that's because I shopped. I found a deal. I found a bargain, and that's what I did. I got it. So, high debt levels, when we're constantly trying to buy enough stuff to fill our income flow, then we're not going to leave anything for savings and investments because, savings and investments, when you're starting off at real small, they're not flashy.
Right. Yeah.
They're not flashy like, the new car or the new suit or the new Rolex or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I can have I can start a monthly bank draft of $50 and it's going to take forever for it to grow. Or I can just buy a brand new car and everybody thinks that I got money. Yeah. Right. So you can do that. You talked about the delayed, the instant gratification. I think one of the things that's adding into these high debt levels is just how inundated people are with, oh, you can't afford this. Here's a credit card. Here's $15,000. Now you can go get it, instead of having to set money aside to buy it. That, or, hey, you are only going to be successful if you go to college and you get a degree. Doesn't matter what it is. Go to school and waste money for 3 years and then, get a degree. That's what you got to do to be successful. There is so much that's constantly just in your face that are, take out this loan, get the instant gratification, buy this now, buy now, pay later, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah. Errands rental.
Oh, yeah.
Rent on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's instant gratification.
Yep.
Pay extraordinary interest rates. Mm-hmm. Buy that same television set 3 times over.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right.
So the other one, and this one, again, this one's probably less common. This one it could have been an honorable mention, but it's lack of financial literacy. Someone wanting to save, someone wanting to be prepared for retirement and just not knowing how to. There's enough information out there. There are enough professionals out there that I think if somebody really wanted to pursue their goal in retirement, they wanted to save, they'd be able to get their hands on a resource, whether that's they do it themselves or they go and work with you and I or some other financial advisor. But that's one of the things that we see is people claiming they just don't know.
Yeah. Lack of financial literacy. I look at that, but I take it a step deeper too. To me, lack of financial literacy is I don't know what I don't know, and I don't know what I need to do to figure out how to know. Mm-hmm. And I know that was a long-winded way of saying this, but this is where I see emotions become completely unraveled. Just recently, we had President Trump just put tariffs out, completely unexpected at the magnitude that he did them at. Now, the tariffs themselves weren't unexpected because he's been singing that tune for a while.
Right.
But at the magnitude and the suddenness that he did it, it rocked the markets for a while. But if you look at the markets right now, they're kind of right back up to where they were at before he rocked the markets.
Yeah. So today's Thursday, May 8th. I think Monday of this week, the S&P 500 broke its longest winning streak since 2004.
Yeah. So emotions cause people to really not do what they should be doing, which is learning, which is applying what they've learned and sticking with the plan and not allowing emotions to dictate, because greed will have you buying at the wrong time. Mm-hmm. Fear will have you selling at the wrong time. Mm-hmm. So lack of financial literacy to me is more than just knowing how to create a budget or understanding investment options. It's more in tune with understanding how the strategy has worked for everybody else prior to them, and knowing that it's the same mechanism going forward. No one's going to invent a new wheel to outsmart the market.
Right.
They're not going to do that. You've got to be in the market prudently, but you got to be in the market.
Right.
And people's lack of financial literacy, they're waiting for the best time. Or again, Glenn Beck, Donald Trump, Sean Hannity, somebody says something, and it's their favorite person or it's their unfavorite person, and they react according to that. And you know what? You're going to lose every time.
Yeah.
If you do that.
So that brings up two things. I'm surprised we didn't have this in here, serious or jokingly, as one of the top reasons, but Fox News and CNN, like those don't do anything for you. So the other thing, this isn't really financial literacy, but some of what you were saying made me think of this, knowing who you are and how you're going to get in your own way. So like, am I prone to think, the market's just going to tank and I need to sell everything out? Or am I prone to thinking, it can't get any higher, so I'm not going to buy right now? Knowing who you are and how you're going to get in your own way, I think that would add into a little bit of that literacy.
Yeah, I agree with you. The next one it says is focusing on immediate needs and wants. And you know, that's interesting because I think the number one reason they have on here, insufficient income, coupled with number two, high debt levels. Then number four, focusing on immediate needs and wants. I think all those three all
could have been the same thing.
Or really the same thing because, again, we use some of this terminology. It says the allure of instant gratification and the pressure to keep up with peers can lead to prioritizing current spending over long-term savings. This is often exasperated by advertising and a culture that emphasizes consumption. Yeah. My gosh, I don't even know if we can add anything to that statement, but the reality is if we want our future, then we've got to look to the future because the future is going to come to us 24 hours a day. It's going to get closer one day at a time, and we're not going to get them days back. So if we want to prepare for the future, we've got to give our assets their best opportunity to work for us. And that means you got to put them to work in that area. Yeah. And when you put them there, you got to leave them there. You can't be going in and pulling them out, putting them in, pulling them out and putting them back in, because all you're doing is you're confusing the whole thing. The Bible, this is not proper for what I'm getting ready to say, but it basically says an unstable man is basically useless. All right. And when it talks about, working for the Lord, well, it's the same thing whenever it comes to accumulating money in the future. An unstable mindset when it comes to money and its ability to work is completely useless to that individual. Right. They've got to set it and forget it. I don't like that saying, but it's really proper for this. Put your money in, make sure your portfolio is allocated appropriately, but put it in. Right. And as the money guys say, they got a saying, they say, always be buying. Always be buying. I don't disagree with that statement at all. Yeah. Dave Ramsey says, live today like no other, so in the future you can live like no other. Yeah. Those are great words of wisdom.
I think something else too is if you don't have a clear set goal, if you don't have a clear plan, stuff can start to get muddy, and then you start to blur the lines of what's a want and what's a need. Like if I know, hey, I want to retire at 65 with $1.5 million, something like that. I have a goal. We've hopefully working with a plan. You know how to get there. Everything that's getting in the way of that, you stick it off to the side, and maybe you can get it later, maybe not, but you're going after the goal. If you don't have a plan, hey, I want to retire one day. Okay. Shiny new car, shiny new toy. Yeah. Hey, my neighbor's got this, so I probably need to get this. That kind of thing. If you don't have a plan, what becomes a want and what becomes a need, I think those lines get blurred. So that gets in the way.
Yeah, that's like with me with that side-by-side. I looked at it. That thing is gorgeous. To me, I think Kawasaki did a phenomenal job of putting that unit together. It is phenomenal.
And this podcast has been sponsored by Kawasaki.
Yeah. Free advertisements, but I'm about to blow that one up in the water. Yeah, I'm about to blow that one up in the water. So that's a want. But I have no need to spend $39,090 on that unit that I can't drive to the grocery store. It's not a quote unquote vehicle. Right. The price is completely outrageous. Did you know just a handful of years before COVID, you could get these things for like $14,000?
I believe it. That was the same thing with boats.
Yeah. So it's ridiculous. So that's a want. But there's nothing in this world that can make me want it enough to give them $39,090 for something in my estimation might be worth $15,000.
Right.
So it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And folks, if you're out there wondering, oh my gosh, that's my financial advisor, Robert, and he just, I can't tell him I got one of these things because he's going to think it's not a good deal. Hey, if you want to get it, you get it, but not me. I will get it. I will get it on my terms.
Right.
Because you see, I have the money in my hand, so they might be the seller, but the buyer determines the value.
Yeah.
And it ain't worth $39,090.
Dave Ramsey said something one time where he said, nobody and no thing can scare him enough to using debt to get what he wants.
Yeah.
So he was like, I think he was talking about like rental properties when he said that. Like you can't make me think I'm going to miss out enough that I'm going to go use debt to get something that I want. Now, I think he was talking about real estate, but you can talk about that with the side by side, with the car. Like, don't let the fear of missing out be so powerful that it scares you into making a bad financial decision. So.
That's exactly right. And the last one that we have today, which we see quite often in here, it says lack of clear financial goals. I'm going to read the statement. Without a specific goal, such as retirement, a down payment on a house, or a financial safety net, it's easy to lose motivation to save. And that's so true. A defined purpose makes the sacrifices required for saving feel worthwhile. This is what this says. Basically, it's like a roadmap. If you don't pick on the roadmap where you want your destination to be, then you have no idea how fast to go, which route to take, and basically what it's going to look like when you get there. You have no earthly idea. You've got to have sat down, thought this thing through, and say, hey, I'm 30 today, and I want to retire at 60, and I want to have the equivalent of X number of dollars to live off of on a monthly or weekly, however you want to say it. But you've got to put that down, because just throwing money in the wind is the same way as being in that same car I just used, rolling down the window and just tossing cash out the window as you go.
Right.
All right, you're going to lose it. You're not going to get it back. And who knows where you're going to end up at.
Right.
Yeah. So
who said this? Walt Whitman, maybe? Be careful without, hey, Scott, I'm going to butcher this, so we're not going to do it. Well, you know which one I'm talking about? Be careful. No, be careful not having a plan because you just might end up there or something like that. I can't remember who said that. I think I'm having a stroke.
Oh, I hope not. That sounds like a Warren Buffett thing.
Hang on a second. Bear with me. Everybody's okay. Everybody's fine.
Oh, if people could only see what goes on behind the scenes of a recording. Hey, just stop right there. Hang on a second. And you have this great thought, but you got to cut it out to get the rest of it in. Yogi Berra.
Yogi Berra. If you don't know where you're going,
I'm sorry, you guys.
that's what we ain't rolling yet.
Okay.
Be careful where you're going. You might just end up there. There's a variation of Yogi Berra's famous quote: "If you don't know where you're going, you might just end up there."
Yogi Berra. When all else fails, and you're trying to figure out who said a quote, chances are it was Yogi Berra.
I don't even know where we were, but we can leave that out. I just needed to know that.
Oh, well, you were talking about the quote, so you could go into the quote. You don't have to say it's Yogi Berra.
So there was a quote by Yogi Berra that basically said, be careful where you're going because you might end up getting there. So if you don't have a plan, you might not get there.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. If you don't have a plan, you might not get there. That's good. That's like the car driving out that direction, headed someplace they're not certain of. And because of terrible planning, they run out of gas, and there's not a gas station within decades around them.
Scott, we got good.
No, this is good.
What's with this guy?
Oh, goodness.
We're definitely keeping this in.
What's with you? What's going on here?
For those of you that are listening and you're not watching this, you can't see the cuts. I absolutely butchered that Yogi Berra quote. And it has taken us a minute to recover.
Who's on first?
Oh, goodness.
Who's on first?
Oh, goodness.
So back to the podcast as we wrap this up. Today. So it says, and again, this is so good, I got to read it. It says, in summary, the reasons people don't save are often interconnected and create a cycle that's difficult to break. That's what Ryan said, the honorable mention number 8. You know, I'm not wealthy. My parents wasn't wealthy. My grandparents wasn't wealthy. Just because you didn't learn good habits. And so that cycle is difficult to break, but it can be changed. Mm-hmm. And it can be a change by addressing these challenges. It requires a combination of increased income, perhaps, or maybe debt reduction strategies that are implemented, or improved financial literacy. You can't ever be too smart when it comes to financial literacy.
Right.
But to me, this is the most important one. A shift in mindset towards long-term planning. You've got to be intentional. No one becomes wealthy by accident unless you purchased a lottery ticket and you won. But statistics also show that the majority of those folks, because they don't have financial literacy, they're broke within a handful of years.
Right.
It's baffling. And then the other one, an establishment of clear financial goals. So Ryan, since we've got all this, why don't you tell them what a reputable financial planner can help people who find themselves in these 5, how a reputable financial planner can help them out?
Well, the first thing they can do is they can check out this book, Financial Harmony, Personal Fulfillment, that talks about a lot of this, how to get those goals without sacrificing your now. Is that what you wanted, or did you want me to give a real answer?
That was good. I like that.
That was a good answer. Yeah.
It was very good.
No, so look, all of this goes hand in hand with having a financial plan. That's what we do here. Though I've said it before, I'll say it again. The best way we can describe what a financial plan is, you're getting from point A to point B. Point A is where we are right now. Point B is where we want to end up, likely retirement. And we help put up guardrails on either side to keep you on track when things come out of left and right field. So if you are somebody who needs help creating a financial plan, or if you can identify, hey, I've got some of these mindsets that I need to work on, or I got some of these issues I need to address, we can help with that. We can help you guys address these issues, set up a plan, and start going for those goals.
That's right. We are financial psychologists. We delve deep in your mind, in between your ears. We try to bring light to the darkness. We try to help you see that you can achieve. We live in America, gosh darn it, and you can accomplish anything in this country you want to accomplish, and I don't care what any politician says. You come see us. We'll help you make your dreams a realistic pursuit. On that, I'm Robert.
I'm Ryan. We'll see you next time.
The opinions voiced in this video are for general information only and are not specific advice or recommendations for any individual. All performance reference is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Economic forecasts set forth may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that strategies promoted will be successful.